all people. I respect black people, white people, colored people. So I feel it's very offensive to say that all white people are racist. It's just not true. And I think that to make whiteness the enemy is easier to fight than to fight the crippling corruption, to fight unemployment, to fight, to fight the wealth gap, because the political leaders that we have cannot fight that stuff. They don't have the skills to fight that, and then they make race the problem.
What's going on, everyone? It's Toxic Kenny here today. We're going to be talking about toxic black culture and just this racial division that I've been noticing a lot more and more often in our culture. How everyone's trying to point to some injustice based on their race, their gender. Pretty much the people are using identity politics as a way of highlighting, oh, look at the disparity based on identity here. And I kind of want to bring to light, especially with this whole Kansas shooter situation, you know, races coming into the conversation because the assailants all happen to look black. I don't know. They look lighter than me, but you know, at this point, the left thinks if you have one drop of black in you, you're black. So I guess that's what the media is going with. And in the intro you saw, that was a viral clip before of some show called The Big Debate, and they're talking about race. And everything that lady say, I 100% agree. Because it's easier to blame something on racism, on systematic whatever, than to blame the fact that, oh, people in your positions mismanage your funds and corruption. BLM, historically black colleges. That's why a lot of athletes don't go to historically black colleges. Because the athlete, if a notable athlete went there, all you have to do is look at the Deion Sanders situation. He went to Jackson State, bring all kinds of attention, all kinds of revenues. And what happened? Mismanaged the funds. Mismanaged equipment. Like Deion Sanders had to go in his own pocket to pay for some of the football equipment. The fields weren't taken care of. The equipment wasn't taken care of. All that had to come out of Deion's salary. And then the same people will get mad when Deion decides to take a offer from a predominantly white college. And this is the part of the problem I'm trying to point out to the black community. And this is part of toxic black culture. Toxic black culture holds that black people are not responsible for anything they do. For any bad decisions they pick, any bad outcomes they get. No. It's someone else's fault. This idea that because of your skin color, you're excused of all accountability of your of all the negative aspects of your behavior. And I had a tweet out here. It seems to be getting a lot of retweets, a lot of views from my following anyway. I made a tweet. Sorry, an X post. I keep thinking about Twitter. Behaviors and decisions drives outcomes. I don't care how many times I have to say it. Racism isn't the biggest issue in America. A lack of culture and values is. Right? A lot of people seem to like what I had to say. And originally I got this video from Dr. Carl M. Swine, who I respect dearly. This young woman is a bold speaker. Only blacks can solve the issues and problems disseminating their culture, their communities, and destroying their youth. I posted this as a great grandmother who is sick and tired of the excuses progressives make for black dysfunction. This is toxic black culture. We need to own our problems, right? And this is the video I got. And then the lady, the speaker in the video, she got a lot of pushback. But that's what toxic black culture is that use racism as an alibi. Oh, white people's fault. Oh, and I stand on this principle that black people's outcomes is not tied to whether another group, whether white people approve or disapprove of what they're doing, if white people like them or not. During the most racist time in American history, black people were having functioning economies, own businesses, were building their own hotels, they had a parallel economy essentially. They were married, old people, elderly black people can walk in the streets without fearing being robbed by their own grandkids. Because that's culture. That's culture. But now, can you say the same in a predominantly black community? No, you can't. How many black communities how many black people starting businesses? Instead, they're using the excuse, I'm going to be discriminated against. What's the point of even trying? Ridiculous. For more frightened by the idea of racism than by the reality of it. This is toxic black culture. You saw the clip. They didn't like that one. Oh, she's denying racism. She's denying. Not all white people are racist, but this one is unconsciously racist, and she saw that right on that spot. What? Let me rehash it for you. Not all blacks are criminals, but this one was unconsciously a criminal. Oh, racist. Like using racism to justify racism. And I think another aspect of toxic black culture is the worship of racism. Here's an example of what black conservatives want to do, right? And this is Candace Owens. She made a student ask her a question about, hey, what can you do more than just speaking about the problems? How you're actually fixing the problems in the black community? And this is just one aspect of doing it. But this is the kind of action that I want the black community to be about. Black community, you have to be the cause of your own change, cause of your own improvement, self-determination. Not sitting here waiting around other groups of people to care more about your problems than you do. Change starts with you. Change always starts within the community. Then other communities help accelerate that. But sitting here with your hand out, feeling entitled to handouts and support when you yourself don't even want to do the work, you yourself don't want to even invest in education, but you expect tax dollars to go into funding education for historically black colleges. But you, all these successful black people out here, don't want to donate to historically black colleges. Make it make sense. There's a saying in the Bible, God helped those who help themselves. But blacks don't want to help themselves. They expect others to help them before they help themselves. Make it make sense. Black community, the toxic black culture has to recognize that communities have to drive their own change in a productive manner within the society that they live in. And for too long, the black culture, toxic black culture, has been putting out this attitude that everyone has to do things for them. They don't have to do nothing for them because they are the last people to experience slavery. When no one alive today has ever been a slave. But I digress. Let's get into this clip where Candace Owens illustrating how she would help the black community. Let's take a look.
You see, so I know you've spoken on like toxic black culture and all that stuff. Besides public speaking, what are you doing to combat against toxic black culture? And then how does your movie Unveiling BLM add to what you're doing? Do you see how it can add to it? Do you see how it can hinder the movement? I don't know.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. I'm so glad you asked it, obviously, because it just lets me brag about myself. So the thing that the media never tells about anybody, and it is so infuriating that they ever say about me, is that it's just like, Candace is just critiquing Black America, and then they just strip away everything that I do for Black America. I run a charity. It's called Blexit.com. It's a successful charity, and we are in 39, actually now 41 states. You can go on to Blexit.com, and you can see what we are doing in these inner cities. We have after-school programs in which we pick up these children that are in disadvantaged districts, and we bring them so that they can learn different ideas and so that their parents don't have to worry about them being on the streets. Aside from after-school programs, we run summer camps for these children so that they have somewhere to go so that their parents don't have to worry about them being on the streets. Aside from just complaining about BLM and all the destruction that it brought to inner cities, we raised over $100,000 and gave it. We picked Black businesses that had been destroyed in the George Floyd riots, and we gave it to them. Now, I'm telling you all this stuff because the media never will. They need to paint me as a monster and a person that hates my own race because I have higher expectations, because we should have higher expectations. And there's been this routine lowering of the bar. In terms of the documentary, my purpose in producing that film was that I never thought that there was a more toxic narrative for Black America than the George Floyd story and the lies surrounding it. And I wanted to do that film in a compassionate way because after speaking to his roommates, I felt sad. This was a man that was struggling with drug addiction. Drug addiction is something that probably every single person in this room can relate to, somebody in your family, a cousin, a brother. This is something that touches Americans. And the George Floyd story should have been a story that brought Americans together. And it's not his fault that after he died, horrible people used the media narrative to divide Americans, to burn down Black inner city communities, and to raise BLM into the multi-million-dollar organization that essentially stole from Americans. And so I wanted to expose all of that because I think that once you expose a lie that big, it helps people be less emotional and to really understand, which was, I think, the thesis of my film, which is that the media is our enemy.
You seen that? You heard that. Now, I'm going to get into like issues with gun crime, and this is behavior, right? I'm critiquing the behavior of the Black folks. I ain't sitting here trying to make excuses. This is why I said the Black community, I think tough love is necessary. I think we need to have this conversation. This is Zeke Arkham. Continue to tell me how white supremacy is the most dangerous thing to Black men. It's more than just a conversation at this point. Action needs to be done. Thug culture is a problem within certain elements of black culture. Black community, and it needs to be eradicated. Firearm homicide deaths by race. Look at the black one look at the black. 59, 49, 47, 46, 43, 40. All 50 states. Look at it. But white people are the problem. It's heartbreaking. The people who refuse to confront the problem don't want to fix the problem. Toxic black culture. Toxic black culture wants to make the problem all about race, police brutality. But the year only 19 black men died at the hands of cops. How many black men died at the hands of another black man? In the thousands, 10,000s even. Homicide rate out the charts. Toxic black culture want to highlight, black men are disproportionately in jail. But toxic black culture don't want to talk about how black men disproportionately commit most of the crimes. How the toxic black culture don't want to talk about how disproportionately black people victimize other black people. Black people, even though black people make up 13% of the population, they make 36% of crime victims. Who's the biggest perpetrator on these black victims? Black criminals. But toxic black culture don't want to call it out. Why? Because they use race as an alibi. And if you happen to be the wrong race and you victimize the same black people, it's a racism. That's when they want to push it out. That's when they want to use systematic racism. They want to blame everything other than themselves. People like me are getting tired of it. And this kind of idea, this kind of seeing color, this is why I talk so heavily against it. That if we want to move forward as a society, we have to see past color. Because when you see color, you're inviting more racism, black people. How about that for standing on business? Because when y'all always want to act like y'all having some hard, difficult conversation when y'all want to talk about, let's talk about race. Y'all don't want to have that conversation. No, let's have that conversation. What happens when you focus on race? When black people are portraying this idea that, because of your skin color, you're inherently racist. What's going to happen? Two things are going to happen. One, people are just going to ignore what you have to say. Or two, people will start focusing on skin color. And then they're going to use it. They're going to use the very same talking points that black people use on white people, saying that they're inherently racist. White people are going to start using that same argument back. Here's an example. The narrative versus the reality. White liberal woman says it's the effing guns. They're talking about the school shootings and talking about how America is known as the land of mass shooters. Reply. If you took away all black and Mexican Americans, sorry, I messed it up. If you took away all blacks and Mexicans, America has a lower per capita murder rate than Denmark or Norway. We don't have a gun problem. This is what happens when you see color. Seeing color creates division in our culture. And who's pushing the seeing color narrative? Sorry, it ain't white America. It ain't Asian America. It ain't Hispanic America. It's black America. Black America's pushing this seeing color-ish. And then it's logic. If everyone decides to judge you by the same standard you judging other people, black folks, don't put out what you can't take. Don't dish out what you can't take. If you're gonna push out race first, you're creating what? More races. And then when you get the energy back, you can't sit back and complain. Toxic black culture. It's fine if black people say you ain't black because you don't vote Democrat. But if a white Democrat says that, it's racist. You can't say that. That's out of bounds. I don't care as long as it's a black person doing it. Okay, so if a black person killed another black person, you don't care. That's toxic black culture. But you want to be the same people saying Black Lives Matter. Black lives don't matter. You don't even believe that. Because if Black Lives Matter for real, when these stats come out about black homicide, 59% of them are killed by each other. You would care about that. That's how often black men die at the hands of other black men. But how many parades you see about Black Lives Matter? Not that it's not comparable, not even at the least. Toxic black culture is a harm to America culture. Sorry. It's time. That's what I'm saying. It's time for tough love. It's time for tough love on Black America, man. We can't keep tolerating this no more. We can't tolerate it anymore. We can't tolerate the excuses, the lowering their expectations. Black people want to use their skin color to be treated like retarded children. That's the reality. That's toxic black culture. Y'all don't want accountability. Y'all worship racism. When you want to use your race as an alibi, continuing harming other people, you guys are the biggest perpetrator of interracial crime. Y'all commit crime 5 times more on your own people than other people do to their own people. And if you look at based on race, which race of people attack other groups of people? It's always black criminals. But then y'all the first people to say, hate crime, when it happens to y'all. This is emotionally manipulative tactics that a lot of black people are pushing. This is why a lot of people are starting to get turned off by the race hustlers. Hell, I'm getting tired of the race hustlers because because it's easier to point fingers at other people instead of the focus on the 3 fingers pointing back at you. Black people are the problem. Black people, your behaviors, what you accept in the culture, what you do in your culture, what you do in your communities, they have a bigger impact than anything that white people could ever do to you. Because we look, 1 generation removed from slavery, black people are starting businesses. You had ex-slaves dying millionaires, but people who were born free their entire life are crying about the struggles and setbacks they had when you had people 1 generation removed from slavery who used to be a slave went to the grave as a millionaire. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And I want to end off this video with this quote from Frederick Douglass, who I revere as one of the most prominent. Like, for me, when I think about black history, I think about him. I think about his life, what he went through, how he overcame. From a slave to becoming one of the most respected Republicans in history. I would unite with anyone to do right and with nobody to do wrong. Frederick Douglass. That's my stance. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, kid, you talking against black. I don't care. You wrong here. Face it. I'm not going to side with you just because you share skin pigmentation with me. I argue on the merits. I argue on the results. I argue on the message, not the people. This is why I say race pride is superficial and toxic black culture is superficial. I digress. Let me know your thoughts about it in the comment section. Do you agree with me? Disagree with me? I want to hear some of your thoughts, some of your perspectives on this topic. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I really do appreciate you guys for watching to the end of the video. I know it's kind of been a long one, but I appreciate it, by the way. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.